Together we are but first coffee. Susie's just our host, but what matters most is we are a team. Together we are all safe here, and so are you. Among friends and mods we are safe. We talk about trauma, break down drama of life, death, happy or sad, even mad. We discuss it all here. Together we will thrive, not just survive. We will dry each other's tears, celebrate big or small wins, and chase away the fears. Together we fight cults or fight addictions, if not with experience, with love, and we don't judge. Please understand this is a safe place to land. Please understand you're not alone. This is a safe place to land. Together we thrive, not just survive. We will dry each other's tears, celebrate big or small wins, and chase away the fears. Because we are but first coffee, and Susie welcomes us all here. Together we are but first coffee, and Susie.
Hey everybody, good to see you. I see several of you are coming in. The chat's already talking a little bit. That's always fun. Well, here we are. It feels like it should be Thursday or so, but what is it, Tuesday? I started to say it's hump day, but it's not even that. Oh, guys. Anyway, so it's just good to be here with you all. I'm always so much happier when I'm here than pretty much any other time. I mean, I love being with my family and stuff, but I mean like any other time in the day when I'm generally sitting here alone. I'd rather be with you all. So anyway, I do want to say, oh, my nose is itching. Anyway, I want to say thank you to Corvette Girl. I got your card. That's so sweet. Thank you very much. Look at my hair, kind of. It is fuzzy and weird today. I don't know what's going on, y'all. So just, bear with me. So anyway, I did want to say thank you to her. And I wanted to remind you guys that I don't have a cutoff date yet or anything. I'm just going to see how long it takes us to get stuff. So I am really, really trying to get a lot of pictures of our community's pets, your favorite places, whatever you want to send us pictures of, you, your kids, your grandkids, your pets, your vacation snaps, whatever you want to do. I'd like to see them. I really, truly would. And I want to take the pictures that are on our intro and outro off and put all those pictures and make this a truly just everything community. So I'm really excited about that. I've gotten a few pictures already and expecting more and hoping for more. So thank you to those that have sent them. And for those that haven't yet, what are you waiting on? Come on, hurry up. Again, in case I don't think she's here yet, but Corvette Girl, thank you so much. It's really strange. I walked in and the card was actually just laying over on my husband's desk. And I don't know if he got it yesterday or when he got it out of the mail, because he checks our mail and all that for me. But anyway, it was in there and I opened it up a while ago and it was just exactly what I needed today. I don't know, it's so weird. It's just strange to me. I've got another friend that she sends me a card every once in a while. There's never any rhyme or reason to it, but whenever I get them, it feels like it was when I just really needed it the very most. And so today I opened your card. So thank you. But for the rest of you who are here, you being here means everything to me. Nothing's wrong. It wasn't like I needed this big pick me up. Nothing's wrong at all. Just, I don't know. It just felt good on my heart. It just felt good. So I am going to check in with the live with the live chat real quick, and then we are going to get started because this one might kind of be a long one unless I keep talking fast, and then it won't. But I am going to try to get through it and not, be too long-winded about it. So, Jersey Jan, it is always, always, always good to see you. And yes, please, if you have not already, please do like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. You're not obligated to anything, but it helps me with my algorithm. Basically, what that is the more that people interact, whether it's liking and subscribing or commenting in the comment section after the video or in the chat, the more of any of that kind of interaction that goes on, the more that YouTube knows to push my videos out to more people. The more it helps them get those notifications out on time. As we all know, those don't always work. But yeah, it doesn't do anything really, to you or any kind of obligation, but it helps me so much. And so, I just, that's what I want. I want to keep those likes and subscribes up and views up. And that is just basically because I really believe that we are doing some important shows. And it's not like that I want more eyes on me. It's that I want more eyes on the information that we're getting out. And that's just going to, I hope anyway, help more and more and more people. So that's why I want that. So I don't care if my channel stays small. It's gotten a little bit smaller and the likes or the views have certainly gone down since I, made a conscious effort to steer away from any unnecessary drama. But you know what? We have such a great community here that are loyal and just everybody's friends with everybody. And so I honestly don't care if it gets any bigger as far as, who's here all the time. But at the same time, I guess I care a little bit because on those important shows, I'd like to get more eyes out because I just think that we really do serve a purpose, that we really do help with something. So I don't know. And I mean I truly do, because it's all of us. The chat is just amazing. My mods, all of you, everybody is just amazing. I'm just the person that's in front of the camera. And sometimes I wish I wasn't. I've thought about doing it. Like some of my friends just have like a little thing on the screen and they don't even show their face. And I thought, man, sometimes that'd be so nice, especially on days when my hair's, doing this and I need to re-bleach it. And it's a mess. I'm trying to wait because I'm trying to time it so that it'll look right when we go on vacation. And I either am going to need to color it now and then once again, or wait a little bit and just do it once before we go on vacation. I know that's lazy, but that's me. But anyway, so I'm going to get back with the chat. So again, Jersey, thank you. You are so sweet. And you made such a great point that it is free and it is fun and it helps the algorithm. Cliff Ann, good to see you. Always glad to see you. Eileen Bradley, same with you. Just a quiet, peaceful dance. Hello, good to see you too. Always so friendly and greeting everyone. It's so nice. Yeah. So Jersey says the rains are even crazy here in New Jersey with horrendous flooding. Nothing like that in my area though. Well, I'm glad that you're not having that right now. Did y'all hear that they had another big flood in Texas yesterday? I don't know what those people are going to do. I mean, everything is so saturated. And the bad thing is that the numbers are, they're not finding anybody alive, but the missing numbers are actually going up because more people are actually, reporting that people are missing. So it's just sad. It is so bad. Hey, Heat, good to see you. And no, I'm not going to send you a mailbox full of Fruit Loops. I'm not sending anything today, but I like to have those because whenever I get ready, to send something, I want to have it and be ready. I was trying to send my mods something through Amazon and I can't figure out how to send the ones in Canada through Amazon. So I don't know. They may just have to ship it to me and then and then ship it to them. I don't know. So I was trying to be sneaky, but then I couldn't find their addresses, and then I got those, or some of them, and it's been a mess, y'all. It's just been a mess. Oh, you're prepping for takeoff on your simulator. Cool. Oh, really? Heading out to North Island, California today. Wow, that sounds fun. Mare's here, as usual. She is always here. I don't know where Mischief is at. She might be asleep. She's been really overdoing it lately, and her husband, well, yeah, I don't know if her husband's still home. She might have had to take him back to his truck today. I don't know. I do too, Heat. I love this community. It is so nice here. Yeah, not the Texas stuff. No. Yeah. The Fruit Loops, of course, not the Texas stuff. My condolences. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, you're fine. Oh, wow. Mare says her daughter had a hailstorm yesterday. We haven't had one for a little while, but the last one we got hail damage on Mark's truck. I didn't get it on my car, but or it's a SUV. Sometimes I call it a truck, sometimes I call it a car. And this hair, what is going on? Y'all. Just I'm gonna sit up real tall where you can't see it. Anyway, I'm gonna go on. I've got quite the story for y'all today. So if you all thought, honestly, if you thought that Charles Manson, that he had the monopoly on the unaliving in the name of God, then buckle up, y'all, because we are about to take a long road or long ride down a dark, twisty, bumpy, dark dirt road in Mexico. And we are in search of a polygamous cult of all things that is so evil. Okay, it is so evil that their leader, his name is Ervil LeBaron, or was, he's died now, thank God, but the rest of them aren't really any better. But anyway, Ervil LeBaron, it was so evil that he has been dubbed the Mormon Manson. And I'm not kidding. Like, pretty much everybody that was talking about him was talking about the Mormon Manson. And his name is Ervil. It's Ervil. And I swear every time I went to write it down, I wrote evil instead of Ervil. So like Evil Knievel or something, right? But anyway, so yeah, he's something. And he wasn't just preaching, y'all, with his cult. He was writing hit lists, ordering executions, treating wives like cattle, and those executions that he was ordering, those included some of his wives, even his own children or family members. Nobody was safe, and all in the name of God, which actually was him, right? So all in the name of Ervil. But anyway, this does have a trigger warning, y'all, because it is, oh, I'm not even joking. It is the most disturbing cult that I ever heard of. But the way that I'm going to present the content is, it's going to be more of like a thriller type of a version of it than the grisly or gore. I just don't go in for that. And so but I am going to need a long bubble bath after this is over. I even made some tortellini and Italian sausage soup so I can have like a comfort food, have a bath. It just, when this one's done, I think I'm going to throw these in the burn. We got a burn pit that we like roast marshmallows and weenies and that kind of stuff in. I think I'm going to take them out there and just light them on fire and be done with this guy. So anyway, but in the beginning of this LeBaron family cult type of a thing, it was originally led by Alma Dayet LeBaron Sr., which would be this Ervil guy's dad, okay? And they settled in Chihuahua, Mexico in 1994 so that they could continue practicing polygamy after the LDS church banned it. So they weren't from Mexico. They weren't, Mexicans or whatever. Um, they just went there because they thought that it would be easier to hide. So that's what they were there for. But anyway, so then in the mid 1950s, they never did say, I don't know if the old man, if he died or if he just got older and was like, I'm done. But anyway, so he shifted the running of the, church to three of his sons. He had literally 12 kids or something. I think half of them were boys and half of them were girls. But anyway, so he had Joel, Ross, and Florin. And those were the three that he chose to take over this church that he was running so that they could be polygamists and everything. So anyway, so them along with some other, with all the other siblings and then just other people that were in the church, they formed what they called, now get a load of this, I'm always talking about how they always have these incredibly long names. They don't just go like the Church of the Firstborn. No, not good enough for them. This is the Church of the Firstborn of the Fullness of Times. Can you imagine? Where do you go to church at? I go to the Church of the Firstborn of the Fullness of Times. Yeah, wow. But anyway, so it was a fundamental sect, of this LDS kind of thing. So that went along for a while, but then in 1972, Ervil, which was one of the younger brothers, he had always resented kind of being pushed aside, and especially by Joel. I guess Joel was like the oldest and kind of the, he was the bossy one. He was the Susie in the family. So anyway, so he was sick of it. He was tired of being sidelined by Joel, and he'd had enough of it. So he broke away from the group and established his own kind of a splinter group. And he called that the Church of the Lamb of God. And he, of course, declared himself the prophetic one mighty and strong. So basically he was saying that he's God. He's the one, right? Anyway, so his group, he took with him some of the ones there that had kind of the Susie of the family. Anyway, I'm not as bad as him. I'm, bossy, but they were all nuts. But so anyway, the ones that kind of believed in the same things that Joel was really wanting to push, they went with him. And so they believed, and one of the things that they believed strongly in was blood atonement, which is a doctrine that justifies the ritual killings to cleanse sin. So like if they thought that, hypothetically, like if they thought that Joe Blow over here was a sinner, they believed that if they killed him, that the blood would wash away his sins, and so he would be able to get in heaven. I'm just like, well, how about I just do this on my own? I don't really need to die to do this, but that's what they believed. And I know a lot of people do. I mean, not so much now, but a lot of people did in the background. But anyway, this Ervil, he didn't just use it as like some kind of, biblical cleansing kind of a thing. No, he used it to order murders of his rivals, ex-members, and even his own family. If you got on his bad side, he was done. He would just order your murder. He didn't do it, but he would just order it done and it would get done. So anyway, within years of forming his sect, Ervil orchestrated the assassination of his brother Joel, the one that had been like the bossy one in the family. And that was in Baja, California, along with several attacks on fellow fundamentalists. I mean, basically, if he considered you a rival, if you had a little cult going and he thought, well, if I get rid of so-and-so, I can bring all their members into my sect, then that's what he would do. He would kill the leader or have it done. And then, at least, in his mind, they would all come to him, which they probably did, because they're probably like, if we don't, we're going to be next, because that's what he would do. If you didn't do what he wanted, then you were just next on the list. So anyway, on a personal note, Ervil had at least 13 wives, some of which were underage. I think they were the two that were underage that we know of, because we only know of 13, two of which were underage. They were 16. So he fathered more than 50 children. Plus, he had stepchildren that some of his wives brought into the relationships. Some of these wives that he killed or had their husbands killed, and then he married the wives. And so he was raising children of people that he had killed. It was anyway. So in 1979, and we're going to go back over a lot of this stuff in a minute. I'm just giving you like a boom, 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 and then we're going to look at some stuff on the screen and see what's going on. So anyway, in 1979, he was arrested and imprisoned for Joel's murder. And while imprisoned, he authored this like manifesto, and I think he like had it kind of in code so that the prison people wouldn't know what he was talking about in it. But it was called the Book of the New Covenants, and it had a hit list in it for his cult. Even though he was going to be in prison for the rest of his life, he had a hit list in there for his cult members to target different people that were dissenters or that they had just pissed him off for whatever reason. So I'm like, dude, just, like chill, I don't know. So after he was arrested in Mexico for his brother's murder, he was arrested there, but he was extradited back to the States. And at that point, he also was charged with the murder of Raylon Alfred, or the, planning of it. The person that actually committed the murder, there was two, and they were actually wives of his. I can't remember this. The one was his 13th wife, and the other one, I can't remember. She was like the 11th or so, I don't know, somewhere right, not far from her. So it was just like, oh boy. Yeah, even the wives, y'all. Even the wives was in on it. That's a lot of why they called it like the Mormon Manson, was he got the women to do so much of it. It's really weird because in so many cults that we look at, the women just make food and have babies. And I don't mean that ugly. That's what these back-assward fools think that women are for, is making casseroles and making babies. And that's it. Well, not him. No, he thought that they were, for murder and just, oh man. But he received a life sentence in Utah, and he did die in prison in August of 1981. It was ruled a suicide, y'all, but was it? I don't know. You'll have to tell me what y'all think. Hey, Mark, good to see you. Because he apparently, how he actually unalived himself was he suffocated after striking himself in the throat. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible, but doesn't it seem like it would be just like maybe somebody took his ass out? Like, he might have made somebody mad, right? So, but even after his, suicide, his followers carried out what was called the 4 o'clock murders. Now, I had actually heard about those, but I didn't know anything about it other than there was these murders that took place that took place at 4 o'clock on the nose. I thought there was a bunch of them. Turns out there was 3. I don't know. I had like 15 or 20 of them. But y'all, I was in high school. I was like 14 or something. I was, young. So I don't know. Well, I was older than that. I was out of school by then. I was about 20. Yeah, I was about 20, 21, something like that. But anyway, but they took that, they did these murders and killed at least 3 people that had been named in this manifesto. Mark says, I would like to point out that these fundamentalist Mormon groups are extremists and should not be equated to them. Oh, no. No, no, we are well aware of that. We call a cult, and and even the ones that think that the LDS can be culty, they don't think that they're a murdering cult. So yeah, but thank you. Yes, very nice to point it out. Yeah, you were born in the LDS church. Aw. Oh, okay. You now consider yourself ex-Mormon. Cool, cool. We should talk sometime. We really should. I would love that. I love interviewing people, and I'm really looking for some people to interview that just like telling me like how they were raised in different faiths and everything. So if you're interested, let me know. I would really like to talk to you. So anyway, so overall, Ervil is believed to have instigated at least 25 murders, y'all, across Mexico and the US. And I mean, it's awful. I'm just like, oh my word. So the sex bloody legacy does continue pretty close to today. They're actually still active. Um, the last that we knew of anything that they did was in 2019. Um, 9 dual citizens, 3 women and 6 children, were murdered. They were descendants of Ervil's, and they were murdered, and it was suspected to be a cartel ambush near Sonora, which ignited interest in the family, but it also ignited some revenge killings, but they've not been proven, so I am not going to list them. So because I don't want to like say, you know, give them credit for something, and then they're like, when do, and then they come after me or something. So you know what I mean. Anyway, so y'all, that is the condensed version, but the real story is in the details. So I have made some slides, and I'm going to show you those because it really, I think you have to really get the story and hear it thoroughly to get it. And like Mark said, these are not your run of the mill norm or Mormons. I'm sorry. Um, this is crazy. This is evil. Like, I didn't even put any of his pictures to put on the screen because it just felt creepy. Like he just exudes evil. But you can look him up. All you got to do really is look up the Mormon Manson or his name, Ervil LeBaron or something, and it'll come right up. Yeah, it's been a while, Mark. I'm glad you're here though. I'm kind of trying to keep track of it because Mischief's not in the back office starring stuff. So I'm gonna try to keep track of you guys, but I won't promise that I won't promise I will. Okay, so I do want to show a few things. I've got a list. I divided it into 2, so hopefully I'll be able to read. Yeah, I can see it pretty good. I'm going to turn this banner off so that I can read what's on that last one, but I'll turn it back on in a little bit. But we do have a trigger warning. So if anybody comes in, we do have a trigger warning. But I did put that in the chat, and I mean, it's pretty obvious. So anyway, this is the first 6 of his wives. Delphina Salido, she married early. They married early in his polygamous life. She was the first one. Strangely, she is the sister of 2 more of his wives that come later. It's the Rios sisters. She had already been married once, so her name wasn't Rios anymore. Anyway, she left and sought protection after Orville ordered the murder of their daughter, Rebecca. So, yeah. Isn't that crazy? Mm. Okay, Marilu Vega. No records indicate direct involvement or children, and she left the group at some point. Yeah, she wasn't there a long time. She was there a few years, but then she left. She didn't have any children, and I'm wondering if that was like a sticking point with him because they like to have those kids, especially in these cults, because they just want more and more and more. Obviously, he had 50 plus any children that were brought into the marriage from other marriages. So Joy Marston, the marriage lasted about 3 months and she hightailed it out of there. I do want to say before I forget that a lot of these women, you can't even find any kind of records for them, nothing. And that's because when they came out, they literally, these women changed their names, went places that he would not suspect they were at. They didn't just like, pop over into Texas or something like that. No, they got the hell out of Dodge and changed everything. So, and a lot of them that had children left without their kids because the kids wouldn't go. So that's scary. So number 4 is Anna Mae Stevens Marston. She was sisters with the third wife. She brought children with her from a previous marriage into Ervil's compound. She was there always, I guess. I don't know. I never could find what happened to the wives when he went to prison and died. Like I said, so much of it is kind of secret, So number 5 is Lorna Chenoweth, and she is the sister to Rena, the 13th wife. Her body was never found, but she is presumed to have been killed by her sons, which would be his sons too, at Ervil's orders. Like he ordered her killed and he ordered the sons to do it. So, yeah. He also ordered Rena to do it, and she didn't. The sons did it, and she didn't do it. So she was, I think, there, but she didn't. I mean, so she was like kind of a part of her own sister's murder. I don't know. Weird. Number 6 is Christina Jensen. She left the cult eventually. Little public knowledge at all about her marriage or anything. There's just nothing. When they left, they are gone. So now this is the second group. Rosemary Worley Barlow brought 3 children into the marriage, part of the extended LeBaron family lineage. She was actually a cousin of theirs, and her husband died. And so her and her 3 children then came and she married Ervil. So it's bizarre. So Linda Johnson, little about her is known. Very much one of the lesser documented wives. But if I don't tell you anything like about them, there's nothing to know. It is like secret. So Deborah Bateman, married at age 16, later escaped the cult. Vonda White, central to the cult violence. Absolutely. She murdered Dean Grover West and Naomi Zarate on Ervil's orders, convicted and sentenced to life in prison. So we know where she's, I think, gone now. I think she's passed now. But anyway, Teresa Rios, that's one of the Rios sisters that was a sister of his first wife, one of the Rios sisters that she later left the group. Yolanda Rios, sister to Teresa and to the first wife, and she escaped in 1984. And then his 13th wife is Rena Chenoweth, and she married at age 16 with stepdaughter Ramona Marston. She was the daughter of the second Marston wife. They assassinated rival leader Roland Alfred in 1977, and she was acquitted criminally, but later held liable for wrongful death and eventually left the cult and wrote a memoir. Now, another little thing of why I'm not showing pictures and stuff was that, first of all, the wives that I kind of considered lesser of the evil kind of thing, you can't find pictures of them. I mean, I found pictures that had wives in them, but you don't know which ones they are. And so I was just like, I don't know who they are. But like some of the wives that I could find pictures of, it was because they were in legal trouble. It was the ones that had, the one that had gotten sentenced to life in prison, or this Rena. And I don't know how you all feel about it, but the way that I kind of felt about it, like she's wrote a memoir, she's been on documentaries, there's a movie, Felicity Huffman plays her, and I just am kind of like, you know what? You did terrible, terrible things. And I don't know. I just didn't want to show their pictures because or I'm not going to watch the stuff either because I just didn't want to glorify it. I don't know. I just do not want to glorify it. Him either, but we have to talk about somebody to, talk about this cult, but I just don't want to glorify the wives. Okay, so surviving wives and their roles today are as close as we can find out. So Rena, her current status is she left the cult in the 1990s after serving time for the murder of Rulon C. Alfred in 1977. She later remarried and became a mentor for children affected by polygamy. Sorry. And I know that she really does seem to be doing a lot of good. I just have this really weird vibe, and it's not going to impact her if I show her picture or not. So it's you can find some pictures anyway on the internet if you want them. But anyway, she had a quote about cult control. She claims to have been controlled by Ervil LeBaron through fear. So that's how she says that he got her to do these killings and stuff, was that she was terrified. It was kind of if I don't, he's going to have me killed, which I don't doubt. So anyway, Susan Ray Schmidt, current status, married to Verlon LeBaron, evil, right? Ervil's brother at 15, escaped the sex at 23, became an author and anti-polygamy activist, author of Favorite Wife, Escape from Polygamy. Yeah, she wasn't his wife. She was married to his brother. So this lists more than just his. So I had forgotten that. I did this part so long ago that I had forgotten. Quote, naive and uneducated, Schmidt eventually graduated high school and then college. Yeah, she said that she was naive and uneducated, and that's why she fell for it. I don't know how being naive and uneducated makes you think that murder is okay. But anyway, Irene Spencer, current status, widow of Verlin LeBaron, later remarried outside the sect, became a born-again Christian and outspoken critic of polygamy, wrote Shattered Dreams and Cult Insanity. Quote, no escape the death threats. Irene and her children were forced to move. Then she finally left Verlin in 1978. But yeah, these wives, they went into hiding. They were terrified. Other wives, Ervil had 13 wives, the few remaining publicly visible. Many have changed identities or live privately. No substantial update on their current whereabouts or status is available in any kind of recent sources. I dug and dug and dug. I'm It was insane. I was just like, it is like these women fell off the face of the earth. A lot of times whenever I'm looking into the wives of cult leaders, even if you can put in like Jane Doe, put their name in, but I'm just going to say Jane Doe. Say Jane Doe, wife of, and you can find them or find something. They said it here that they changed their identities and went bye-bye. I don't blame them. So who were the Rios sisters? Delfina, Consuelo, and Laura Rios. I can even talk. They were raised in a Mexican Mormon community, deeply devout and loyal to the patriarchal Norman, or more. I want to say Norman. What is wrong with my brain today? It is not working. Mormon teachings, indoctrinated with polygamy and prophetic obedience doctrine. All three eventually became plural wives of Ervil. I'll get his name in a minute. Ervil LeBaron. They were told that it was God's will when a prophet asks, you obey. And that was a former LeBaron family member that said that. So Lorna's murder, which was ordered by Ervil. What happened? In 1977, Lorna Chenoweth Rios, basically, who had once been Ervil's fourth wife, began to question his authority and teachings. She had allegedly left the cult or openly disagreed with Ervil. They're not really sure which. So Ervil declared her an apostate and ordered her death, invoking blood atonement. So two of Ervil's own sons. Okay, this was sons by another wife. Something I read said it was her sons. Okay, Heber and Aaron were allegedly sent to kill her. Well, at least it wasn't her own sons, or a guess. I don't know which one's true, because the other things that I read said it was her own sons. So I don't know. She was murdered, and I guess it's just because it's a cult and they're not going to give us the information freely, right? I guess. I don't know. She was murdered in Mexico, and her death was justified by Ervil's followers as necessary for salvation. No, thank you. Okay, and yet, Rena was a sister. It was Rena that was a sister to this one. She still married him, and it seems unthinkable until you understand the depth of control that Ervil had over Rena. Well, first of all, again, she was 16 when they married, and from a very devout group. So she was only a teenager when Ervil pursued her, and she had grown up in extreme uh, dedication, to the prophet, and had been groomed from childhood for this sort of spiritual life, that she would be like she was going to be a plural wife, and that, I mean, that's all she knew. And so I'm not excusing her, and yet I don't know, I'm so like mixed on how I feel about her. So, psychological and social profile of women who married Ervil. So they were raised in fundamentalist Mormon culture. Many of Ervil's wives came from polygamous families who already believed in the principle of plural marriage. They saw women as spiritually subordinate to men and viewed the prophet as the mouthpiece of God. So Rena said, I was raised to obey my priesthood leader, and Ervil was the highest one I knew. So he had full control over everything that she did. So anyway, child brides and teen converts. Some girls were groomed from birth to marry God's chosen, but others were, teen runaways or converts that they converted over. They were seeking belonging and meaning and just family, and they found it in this cult. It's just like anything else. I'm sure they made it sound absolutely wonderful until they got there. So girls were told that refusing a prophet's marriage proposal is a sin. Can you imagine? Like, if you turn him down, you're basically going to hell. You've basically you've probably signed your death warrant, to be perfectly honest, in his case. And isolation with no outside support, no TV, radios, school, no outside friends. Access to the world was filtered entirely through the cult doctrine, and family and faith were fused. No disobeying the prophet often meant losing everything and everyone, which is what they said. But honestly, disobeying him or disagreeing with him meant death. So I feel for these young girls, and yet I just still, I don't know. I don't know. Some were already related or intermarried somehow, like a bride, one of the wives of one of his brothers, or a cousin, or, however. Ervil's sect often intermarried within fundamentalist clans, LeBaron, Alfred, Jessup, families. This meant that girls could be assigned to marry him at 14 or 15 as part of a religious arrangement of all things. Indoctrinated to believe in blood atonement, Ervil taught that murder was mercy and obedience was eternal salvation. His wives were told they were queens of heaven, and if they bore his children and obeyed. Yeah, they were queens of heaven if you bore my children and obey. So it really makes me think that the ones that didn't get pregnant, they left because they knew that was what they were there for. That was what their worth is. So anyway, Anna LeBaron, which is a daughter, said that we were taught that killing someone wasn't wrong if the prophet said it was sacred. So yeah, as long as he said it was sacred, then it's fine. Yeah. Why didn't they leave? Leaving equals death. Sometimes literally, probably more often than not literally, if you're absolutely honest. Ervil ordered apostate wives to be killed. Women saw other defectors die or disappear. There was also just torture and craziness that went on. Mothers feared losing their children or being excommunicated from salvation. It wasn't just that they thought that he was going to get rid of them. They really believed that being excommunicated by him was the same as being excommunicated by God. So it is just, I don't know, terrifying to me. I'm going to grab this second group of, I've got four more to show you, four more groups. But it really does just tell the story so much better if you see the actual deal, so I don't forget to say something. Plus, if I'm going to have to read it to get it all right, I just about to soon read it off of the screen. And so let's see here. Let me get them all loaded real fast. I really am going to figure out a way to do this better, but I haven't figured it out yet. It hadn't been very long ago that I didn't even know how to do this. So I'm getting there, guys. I'm getting there. See here. Whoops. Almost done. Let's see if I can get one more on here. I think, yeah, it'll let me. Okay. I tried to put just as many as it would let me put in each group, but it won't let you put that many. I mean, it only let you do 2 or 10, and I count as one, and if somebody's in the back office, they count as one, or if somebody's on the stage with me, they count as one. So it's crazy. I wish that YouTube could make some changes, or StreamYard, I guess. So cult experts on this type of loyalty. So the loyalty that we're talking about with these wives and everything. In cults, the more painful the experience, the more devout the believer becomes. It's survival logic twisted into religious obedience. And that's Dr. Janja Lalich, a cult recovery specialist. And victims may normalize normalize horror to maintain connection with their only perceived source of safety, even if that source is the abuser. And that is Dr. Stephen Hussein with the bite model of cult control. We get a lot of quotes from him. He's pretty awesome. Turn this off for just a second so I can see this. Survivor Voices, Rena Chenoweth said in her later years, I did things I'd never forgive myself for. But when you believe your soul is at stake, you'll do anything. Anna LeBaron's one of his daughters. My father's religion made monsters out of children and martyrs out of mothers. It's kind of scary, isn't it? I cannot even imagine. So how did they live? And I'm not going to read every single thing. It's, I'm going to kind of hit the high points, but they did live in a communal compound in um, Los Molinos and San Diego, Baja California, Mexico. Families lived together in multifamily compounds, and they shared their food, they shared all the labor and all of their religious study. Ervil controlled daily life completely. He determined who got married to who. He directed child rearing. They basically couldn't do anything without his okay. It says we lived in squalor. There were mice in our beds, scorpions on the floor, but we were taught that it was holy. Can you imagine? Food, clothing, and shelter were distributed communally. Women cooked in shifts for multiple households. Older children were used as laborers and lookouts. Because yeah, every church needs lookouts, right? Just kind of like Scientology needed those armed guards on the roof when they first moved into Clearwater. Makes a lot of sense. New wives often shared sleeping quarters until they were assigned a quote unquote role. They also have satellite families in places like Houston, Denver, Dallas, southern Utah, where there were smaller groups that would unite there. So anyway, 2 or 3 wives and children per apartment or trailer. Some received welfare, food stamps. They worked under false names, that whole bit. They didn't carry his name because polygamy was illegal. So they didn't carry the LeBaron name. They all still maintained their previous names. A lot of times the first wife will have the name, but nothing after that. So these families were still under strict doctrinal control, but they did function independently. Okay. They were also sleeper cells. Some of my mind went blank on it. I was like, who are they talking about? Anyway, some of these satellite families were like what we call now these sleeper cells that aren't like as intimately visibly, included, but they are. So why the communal living? Because it's about control. It's easier to control behavior and monitor behavior if they're all together. It was a security thing. It was easier, kind of like the whole circling the wagons thing of the Wild West. If you keep everybody kind of bunched up, it's easier to keep everybody there and safe from what? I don't know. Basically, safe from detection that they were living that kind of life because it was supposedly a secret. And it was also a spiritual symbolism. It was modeled after the early Mormon communities. So that's a lot of why it was too. Okay. How they made money. I'm just going to go down through here. They had auto theft rings. Imagine. I guess I shouldn't be surprised if they're fine with, just killing people, then they're probably not going to get upset over stealing cars. My cat's making a noise. They did welfare fraud. It was crazy. Drugs and gun smuggling. That was another thing they did. Manual labor and construction work. And they got donations from new converts. So one of the things that they would do was whenever they would convert somebody over, they would sell all their property, all that, and bring all this money with them. And then they would donate it. Because after that, they had no need for money, right? Because everything was done communally. So, yeah. Nice. So, how they gained members. So, they had recruitment from other polygamous sects, like, other groups that were already polygamous. So, that was one hurdle. And if they could get them to where they believed in the whole blood atonement and those kind of things, then it became a lot easier to convert them over. So a lot of it was his family. I don't know why I'm saying all the time, but anyway, a lot of it was from the LeBaron family. They married within the family and stuff too. So there was also arranged and forced marriages. Women and girls were forced into these polygamous marriages. So it was just crazy. Yeah, it's multi-generational. So they would marry these LeBarons, not just Ervil, but the others too. They would marry sisters, they would marry mothers and daughters, they would marry cousins. I mean, it would just be once they got a hold of a family, they didn't let go. They just kept marrying because there was so many of them too, so many of the LeBarons. This apocalyptic fear monger. They would make everybody so afraid that the world was getting ready to end and that you better align yourself with, in his case, him, Ervil, because he was the one true one, right? So promises of power and divine status. Yeah, they promised, especially the men, they would promise them that if you're in with us, that you are then going to have as great of a presence in heaven and as we do. You're going to be elevated, you're going to be more important, you're going to all this stuff, and so they would believe it. Okay. He claimed to be God's appointed prophet, yeah. After his brother Joel was murdered on Ervil's own orders, Ervil claimed that he alone was the rightful successor, sorry, the one mighty and strong, the one, yeah, that is prophesied in Mormon scripture. So he would hold that kind of thing over their heads because fundamentally they had these beliefs from the Mormons, but this just went above and beyond, not just the whole polygamy thing, but when they would get a foothold in because of these people having been Mormon. And then, I mean, if you went with somebody that was necessary, like Baptist, they're got a long ways to go to get in with this polygamy and all these things, right? But if you can pick the ones that already are halfway there, and I'm not talking about the evil part, I'm talking about the belief system. So he did create his own scripture. He wrote the Book of New Covenants while he was in prison. It was a 400-page manifesto that functioned as cult scripture, and that's the thing that had the hit list in it for people that were supposed to be taken out. Yeah, it was full of revelations, I'm sorry, from God and just all this stuff that just kept them thinking that he was the one true one. Anyway, so he had it smuggled out of prison. How did I not remember that? Yeah, before his death. And I don't know how they smuggled out a 400-page book, but anyway. But his children used it to carry out the infamous 4 o'clock murders. And not only his children, but his 13th wife. So, and this was even after years of him having died by the self throat punch that caused him to suffocate. I don't know. If anybody knows how easy that would be to yourself. I'm not saying it's not easy to be done, but I just am wondering, don't anybody try it. I'm just saying, like, how easy would it be to hit yourself in the throat so hard that you suffocated? They tried to turn it around and say that he might have fallen and hit in his neck, but it also just said that he had struck himself in the throat. So I don't know, but they were talking about that he had actually hit himself. I mean, I realize striking can be like on the corner of a table or something, but they were saying he had struck himself. So I don't know. Anyway, they used blood atonement as doctrine. Absolutely. They just kept on and on and on with how that was everybody's salvation, basically. So he compared himself to biblical prophets, Moses, Elijah, Joseph Smith. Yeah. Anyway, his followers called him the prophet, and disobeying evil was the same as disobeying, or I called him evil again, didn't I? Maybe I'll just call him evil, right? obeying Ervil was the same as disobeying God himself. So he claimed a divine mandate to build a kingdom. He told them that this is what we're supposed to be doing. That's why you got to have all these kids, is because we have got to build a kingdom. So let's see here. He was the most Old Testament of all of them, of all the other cult leaders that we know of so much, while others like Koresh or Jeff's leaned on prophetic sexual control. Ervil's unique evil came from turning blood atonement theology into personal assassination doctrine. He weaponized family ties, enforced loyalty, and created assassins from his own children and wives. There were at least two that literally carried out some of these murders. I mean, that's kind of hard to get past. It says he taught us to believe killing someone was holy. It was if it was in the name of obedience. Celia LeBaron, another child. So Ervil's blend of evil, Manson's paranoia, plus Koresh's scripture obsession, plus Jeff's child abuse, plus Jones's apocalyptic drive. It was all wrapped up with Mormon theology twisted into absolute terror. That's why I say he literally, when I would look at his pictures, he literally looks like evil. You feel dirty. You truly do. So, quotes from the Book of New Covenants, although the full text isn't publicly accessible, reporting and court documents reference its chilling contents. To those who oppose the Lord's anointed must be swept off the earth in blood. This command highlights how LeBaron presented himself as God's anointed, the only one authorized to execute judgment. He included a detailed kill list naming government officials like Salt Lake County Attorney David Yoakum and church leaders. There was a lot. Let's just say they didn't get to them all. So, explicit blood atonement doctrine, LeBaron revived the Mormon era blood atonement idea, but weaponized it. He used the doctrine of blood atonement to justify the murders of other polygamous leaders who he believed were enemies of his church. An expert recounts Ervil LeBaron wrote a document listed a number of people who had been disloyal and deserved to die, and copies were distributed. That's just creepy, y'all. Just so creepy. So let me grab some more real quick. There we go. I tried to kind of lump them into, groups that kind of had something to do with each other. So we are getting towards the end. We're halfway. Dead air. Can't figure out who's mowing, if that's Mark outside mowing or if it's Curtis. My son-in-law, might be my son-in-law. He mows my Aunt Mary's property too now, since her son that was living there taking care of her, since he passed, he's been doing it. So what kind of person becomes the evil that Ervin LeBaron was? He fits a sociological or psychological profile of what many experts would call a malignant narcissist with I can't say that word, messianic complex, someone who blends delusions of grandeur, manipulative charm, and a lack of empathy and religious extremism. Core traits: charismatic narcissism, grandiosity, paranoia, manipulativeness, lack of empathy, religious weaponization, and this is according to Dr. Stephen Hassan, who again, he is a wonderful source of information about any kind of cults. He is incredibly knowledgeable. So was evil in his bloodline because the brothers were, I wondered how far did it go back? And so when I looked into it, they said to a degree, yes, but not necessarily because of genetics. The LeBaron family was steeped in generational religious extremism, paranoia, control, apocalyptic thinking, and Almadeir LeBaron Sr., which was his father, follower of Joseph Smith's teaching and a breakaway polygamist, founded a settlement in Chihuahua, Mexico for Mormon fundamentalists, believed in literal divine patriarchal order, and raised his sons with the prophetic expectations. Alma told his children that the male line would carry on the fullness of the priesthood, and that each of his sons believed that they were destined to lead. So a lot of it came from at least the dad, and we don't know, like, further back than that. We don't know what his grandfather would have been like. So there was cultic competition between the siblings. I mean, we already know that Joel, the brother, he led the Church of the Firstborn of the Fullness of Times. Ervil formed a splinter group after he had Joel murdered. Verlin LeBaron tried to distance himself from Ervil, but he lived in fear. His own brother, which no wonder, right? Ugh. It was just warped in a kind of divine sibling rivalry that was just, it was insane, absolutely insane. So expert insights, was Ervil born evil? So this Dr. Janjo Lalich says, cults don't just attract narcissists, they grow them. If somebody already has tendencies toward control, ego, and dominance, cults provide them the perfect soil. So he wasn't born a killer. He was bred to believe that he had divine permission to become one. The belief, nurtured over decades and generations of extremist theology, turned him from a preacher into a prophet and eventually into a murderer. So I guess, they say nobody's born evil, but sometimes I just don't know. Okay, so yeah, I already did that one. I did want to read this one, though. That part was supposed to actually be gone. He used uh, God as a gun. If you didn't obey, it meant that you hated God. And in his world, that was a death sentence. And that was his daughter, Anna. Can you imagine believing that about your own dad? I mean, I just think my dad's great. I can't imagine. And we do have this, which I found very interesting, and I hope I can see it enough to read it. I will put this, I tell you what, I will put it in my post, in my community post, because I know my eyes are not working good enough to see it today. But it does list the profile elements, and it lists Ervil along with Charles Manson, Jim Jones, David Koresh, and Warren Jeffs. So that's a really interesting thing to look at, I think, because it compares them on how they believed and acted on different things. So I will put that as soon as this is over. I'll go put that in the posts because it's very interesting. Okay. So, this is going to list some of his victims. I'm sorry. So Joel LeBaron, May of 1972, the victim, Joel LeBaron, Ervil's older brother, founder of a rival sect, Method, lured to a shack, beaten with a chair leg, and shot. Perpetrators Daniel Ben Jordan and Gazmiel Rios, another Rios, acting on Ervil's orders. LeBaron colony raid. So this was another brother that he had his own little group too. And so in 1974, the day after Christmas, they went and raided it. And the victims of that one were two young men. We don't know who it was. We were just told that it was two young men, plus there were 13 that were injured. The method was firebombing and gunfire attack on Verlin's colony in Mexico. The perpetrators were Rena Chenoweth, 13th wife, her brothers, Mark and Dwayne, and others under Ervil's command. The number 3 was Dean Vest in July of 1978. The victim was Dean Grover Vest. He was a disenchanted member. The method was he was shot 3 times in the back in his kitchen. The perpetrator of that one was Vonda White, which was one of his wives. So in 2 out of 3 of those, it was a wife, right? So Rebecca LeBaron in 1977. Rebecca LeBaron was Ervil's pregnant teenage daughter. So not only did he have his teenage daughter murdered, but she was pregnant. She was murdered and her body disposed in a car trunk. Yeah. Anyway, Rulon, I don't know, it just bothers me. She's a child and she was pregnant. I just can't. Anyway, Rulon C. Alfred, May 10th of 1977. Rulon C. Alfred, leader of an apocalyptic United Brethren. Method, multiple gunshot wounds in his Murray, Utah office. Perpetrators, Rena Chenoweth, shot 7 times. She shot him 7 times and was assisted by Ramona Marston. That would be one of the Marston wives, the second Marston wife's daughter. So it would have been Rena's stepdaughter in a way. And Robert Simmons in about April of 1975. He was the leader of a rival polygamous sect. He was shot with a shotgun and buried in the desert. The perpetrators were Mark Chenoweth and Eddie Marston, acting on Ervil's orders. And there's this one, and then we're going to go to another one. There was also Leo Evanuk, I think, in about 87 near Santa Cruz, California, that he went missing. They don't, he just disappeared. We don't know what happened to him. Lorna Chenoweth, Ervil's wife, presumed killed by, see, this one says her sons. Body never found. I think it was her sons. I only saw the one thing that said it wasn't. Everything else I saw said it was her sons. Rebecca, her body was never recovered. That was the 16-year-old pregnant daughter. Multiple others feared missing or murdered. Now, in the 4 o'clock murders, which was June 27th of 88, this was after he had died, his sons carried out revenge killings using his Book of New Covenants hit list. Mark Chenoweth, he was at a Houston store, and that was done by Herbert LeBaron and Patricia LeBaron. Dwayne Chenoweth, they were brothers, I believe. Was it father and son? Oh, God. I have studied so much of this, and now I'm just like, I don't remember. They were in a Houston driveway, and it was done by Richard LeBaron. Jennifer Chenoweth was in the same driveway, and that was Richard LeBaron. And Eddie Marston was in an Irving driveway, and that was Douglas LeBaron. So, yeah. Victims were lured with false, like they were supposed to be coming to meet somebody to repair or pick up like a stove or refrigerator, that kind of thing, and washer, dryer, that kind of thing. And so they would go to pick up stuff or, go to try to fix it or something, and then they were just shot as soon as they got there. So anyway, the total estimated murders by the cult is somewhere between 25 and 30 over 2 decades, but they honestly don't know because there's just so many people that had associations with them that just completely went missing and we never heard from again. So, okay, that was okay. We are grab these. There's two groups, but whoops, you don't want. Let's see. Here we go. I just wish that like I could hit one thing and it would take like a bunch of them up at once, but I can't figure out a way to do it. I think if I can figure out how to share the screen, so that's another thing I'm going to be looking at. My dog, if you hear that, that's my dog acting crazy.
Dishing it out?
No, I didn't dish it out. I put a bowl there.
Oh, no.
Okay, good.
We missed.
Oh, that's not good. Stir it real good. He's going to take soup to my dad. I made a tortellini Italian soup for dinner. And I asked my dad, I said, "Do you want some soup for dinner?" Because he's kind of picky about like anything that's not just like, old school kind of things. And he's like, "Sure, I'll try anything once." I'm like, "Okay." I figured he was going to say no for sure, but he didn't. Really gets excited if I make like beans or, roast or anything that's like stuff that my mom used to make. So, okay, let's see what this one is. So, yeah, I'm just going to go through these very quickly. Several of these are going to just go through quick. So, they did have the way that they were, the reasons that they were considered a cult, I'll get it spit out in a minute, was their authoritarian leadership, their blood atonement doctrine, mind control and indoctrinations, polygamy, child brides, and incestuous marriages. Those were all very cultish. And so that was some of the reasons that they're considered a cult. The isolation and control, the financial exploitation, the kill list, the apocalyptic worldview, all very, very cultish. So, okay, so now this one is, who did Rena kill? So she actually killed Rulon C. Alfred, and it was on May 10th of 1977. And the location was his chiropractic clinic in Murray, Utah. So he was the leader of an apostolic United Brethren, which was a rival fundamentalist Mormon polygamist group. So anyway, he considered himself as an enemy, or Ervil considered him as an enemy and a false prophet. So anyway, he was, him and Ervil didn't get along. So that's why he was targeted, was because he thought that he had the same authority that Ervil did. And so, that's not going to work. So how did she do it? So the setup was, she was just 19 years old at the time. She and Ruth, another one of Ervil's wives, dressed in wigs and long coats to disguise themselves, okay? And they were armed with guns, automatic pistols. So anyway, they assassinated him. They entered into his clinic around midday, and Rena approached him and shot him multiple times in the chest at close range. And he died at the scene in front of his patients and staff. And the women, they fled the scene, her and Ruth. Now, we're going to get into that because it says that she shot him, right? But then later they try to say she didn't. So why was she acquitted? So why did she get off? They said that she was just 16 years old when Ervil LeBaron, her 40-year-old, 40-something-year-old cult leader husband, ordered her to kill him. So I mean, she was 16. Oh, she was 19 at trial, 16 when she murdered him. I'm sorry. She had already borne a child at that point. The coercion and cult indoctrination, they said that she was a brainwashed victim and if she disobeyed him, that was going to, eternal damnation of her soul, and that he had a psychological grip on her and she was incapable of making free decisions. So they said that there was weak physical evidence. The murder happened in 77 and she wasn't tried until years later, and it relied heavily on eyewitness memory and circumstantial evidence. The second shooter, Ramona Marston, also never stood trial, so Rena wasn't jointly charged in a conspiracy case. No direct physical evidence tied her to the scene, like fingerprints or a weapon or anything. And it was an all-female jury, and they said that they empathized with her as a victim of child marriage and just abuse and coercion. And she's a very calm, cool, collective type of a person. And she has her appearance. She's attractive, and she was certainly attractive then. And they say that they really believe that her appearance worked in her favor. They also tried to say that she wasn't actually the one that shot him. But witnesses disagreed. But it was like they said they disagreed, but they weren't 100% sure. Why this says why your instincts make sense is that this part I got from Chat GPT, and I said, I feel like that she's profiting off of this murder, and it makes me uneasy. And it says, she pulled the trigger. She was one of the killers of Dr. Rulon Alfred. She shot him in cold blood in his office. She got away with it. She was acquitted in criminal court, largely due to cult sympathy. And she later won civil immunity. She wrote a book, The Blood Covenant, which is out there if you all want to read it. It is out and about. You can get it, and has appeared in interviews, documentaries, podcasts. Again, there's a movie, and Felicity Huffman is in it. So yes, she did directly profit from the murder that she committed in service of a cult. And she went from child bride to killer to author. And, so for many that feels like trauma, crime, forgiveness, branding, and I don't know. I'm one of those people that just has a little bit of a problem with it. So, I mean, I feel bad for her and I understand. But my point whenever I was doing this was that she still did it, she still did it. And I don't know. So it can feel like survivor capitalism is what they're saying. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind sometime, but I'm just really weird about it. So this was the other side of that whole thing, because I wanted to, have both sides, not just what I thought, but maybe I'm wrong. So, she was 16 years old when she married Ervil. She was groomed from childhood to see him as God on earth. Her entire life had been filtered through authoritarian religious mind control. She had no education, no autonomy, no access to any other belief systems. She was taught that obedience equals salvation, and that the moment that she questioned him, that she was told that she would burn in hell or be blood atoned. Neither one probably sounded like a good option. So there was psychological coercion, and that's not a choice, that's a survival mode, and I agree. But think of it like child soldiers. They commit atrocities, but were they ever free to say no? Probably not. Telling her story is also how some survivors heal. And I get that. I truly do. I don't wish her any ill at all, any of them, any of the wives. But I don't know. Writing a memoir, joining documentaries, these are not always about fame or money. And I get that. They can be therapeutic, educational, and a form of reclaiming power over years of voicelessness. Speaking out helped me forgive myself, is what she said in an interview. But I always know others never will, and maybe they shouldn't. I mean, I give her credit for that. I truly do. I'm just weird about it. And again, can both be true? Yes, it can. We know that, right? We know that two things can be true at once. A lot of that, even with Mike Rinder, we know that he was both a victim and a perpetrator. He did horrible, disgusting things, but he was also a victim. And, you know, did he have a choice? I don't know. I would come more holding things that he didn't do after he got out of the cult against him than what he did in the cult. So I get it with her. I get it. I'm just not quite there yet. But I mean, this is early. What the victim's family say. Some of Alfred's family members have never forgiven Rena and won't. Not because she wasn't brainwashed, but because she never truly paid for what she did. Others see value in her speaking up as long as it's an education type deal, not glamorized. So they were like, your feelings are valid. So if any of you feel like I do, your feelings are valid too. You know, it's not it's not wrong to question motivations. You're not wrong to feel weird about people making money from murder, but it's also true that Rena and women like her were created by monsters like Ervil, and I absolutely believe that. Shaped in fear and often acted in a warped form of survival. I honestly believe that if she walked up to me, I would hug her. I have empathy. I don't know. I just don't want it to be glorified. And again, I haven't watched the stuff and I don't know that I will. I've honestly felt so just gross for the last 3 weeks that I have studied this case that I don't know if I've got it in me to study anything else about him. There's just so much that I'm not even telling. So we just have just a few more and then we will be done. And I hate having this many slides, but I really just didn't know how else to do it with this one. So it's not something that I want to do all the time. Let's real quick. Let's see here, about done. 2 more, I think. 3 more, sorry. After we get finished with this one, well, did it go or no? Let me see. Yeah, okay. After we get done with this, we have some really fun and more entertaining, light stuff to talk about for the next couple of weeks anyway. So the aftermath, which is the legal fallout and everything, was the arrest and the trial. She was eventually arrested and charged with the murder, and she testified in her own defense, and she was acquitted. So a quote from Rena was, "I was raised to believe that when the prophet speaks, you do what he says, even if it means taking a life. I didn't think I had a choice." So then there was also a civil suit, and she was ordered to pay $52 million. But the dark irony of that was that she was married, and she was married to the prophet who ordered her to kill her sister. I mean, you know, and she didn't have any money. So they knew, even when they ordered, it was more of a symbolic thing to order her to pay that, because they knew she didn't have any money to do it. So Rena today is that she, later left the cult, remarried, and became a public speaker and an author. Her book, The Blood Covenant, tells the story, but it's controversial. Some survivors and ex-members feel that she profited, off murder, and that she never truly took responsibility. So I don't know. I guess I'm not the only one that felt that way. Some of the people that knew her did too. But that could also be jealousy that they didn't do it. And honestly, she was a lot younger than a lot of the wives, and she was a very attractive girl, which apparently some of the others were not. But she was very young, very attractive, and all that. And that really, vivacious kind of a thing probably worked in her, favor. So in 1992, she was sued by Alfred's family in civil court and found liable for wrongful death. They did award the family $52 million. She did publicly confess to the murder in interviews and in her memoir. Yeah, I did what I believe God wanted me to do, but I was wrong. It was murder. So she left the church, cut ties with Ervil's family, and eventually became a born-again Christian. I mean, it's like, I understand there's nothing else really that she has, that she could do. So anyway, in reality, she could not and did not pay the $52 million judgment awarded to her, or awarded to the family from her. She had no assets. The time of the civil judgment, she was living modestly and had no income, no property, no savings, nothing. She was a former cult member and had spent her entire youth in isolation. She didn't have an education. Her potential to earn money was not great. So it was meant as more of a moral and symbolic victory, and a way to officially assign blame to somebody, to her, because she got acquitted. Often it's easier to find somebody liable in a civil suit than it is in a murder trial. So yeah, the court says we can't imprison her, but we're making clear that she did it. So there's that. And then she didn't make a ton of money off of the book. It was not by any means a bestseller. She brought in a very, very modest income, if any, by the time that it was all said and done. She really just didn't get much of anything from that. Because like when books, they don't make a bestseller list, they immediately go for sales. And sometimes they'll sell for 99 cents. And if she's getting a portion and the publisher's getting a portion or whatever, she was not given a big book deal. So she was doing it strictly on what she was going to make on book sales. And if you're selling books for 99 cents and you're only getting, 60% or something, you're not making a lot of money. So I get that too. So civil judgments are difficult to enforce. Absolutely. They require more legal actions to enforce it. She's got a job now, we can garnish her wages, or she's made, $500 on this book and I want it. And so it's just nearly impossible. You spend more than what you would get in that kind of a thing. So what the family said, they never expected to receive the money. The justice and public acknowledgement was what they wanted, not necessarily the financial resolution. So it was the the verdict mattered more. They wanted her to be said that she did this, that this was her fault, which I totally get. So again, she left the cult, she remarried and became a public speaker, wrote the book, and some people believe she profited off of the murder. I honestly don't think that she got much of anything off of that. I don't know about any kind of money that she would have gotten for movies or anything like that. And I don't know. So I wanted to know a little bit about this is in kind of the closing last three, I think, slides. I wanted to know like how big was this cult at its peak? And so it said that they had an estimate of just around 100 or 200 um, followers. And some people said up to like 400, but that included children, wives, and what they called armed enforcers. So, anyways, the number sounds small, but like Charles Manson's family, it was the level of indoctrination and violence, not the size, that made it so dangerous. So, yeah, adult followers 50 to 100, wives 13 or more. They said probably more, but we don't know. 50 plus and there may be some we don't know about, plus he had stepchildren, loyal killers or hitmans. He had 20 to 30 of those. So somewhere between 200 and 400, which is not a huge cult by any means, but man, the evil of it is just so disgusting. So what happened after Ervil's death? He died in 1981. The group splintered into multiple factions led by different family members like Daniel, Ben, Jordan, Ervil's sons, Arturo and Heber, sorry. And they went on violently vying for control. And leadership passed from Arturo, who engaged in criminal activity like auto theft, and then to Herber, who took the group into the U.S. with Ervil's surviving wives and children. So his son took his wives. Ugh. Ugh. I don't know. Just not something I'm interested in. So who's left? The numbers are small and fragmented. Some aligned under the Church of the Firstborn of the Fullness of Times, which is Joel's branch. Some under Ervil's Church of the Lamb of God. There's some remnants there. Members live in remote rural colonies, but there's no reliable data on exact numbers, and they likely still just number in the hundreds and not in the thousands. But the scary part is that if they still number in the hundreds, then they haven't shrunk. Even since 1981 when he died, they're still there, right? So that's what I have for you today. And believe it or not, I really didn't include any of the gory details. They're out there. You can see pictures and everything in some cases, or even all of the information. It was just, even what I did, I felt like was a little bit of an overload. But to be honest, I realized that a person, can be a victim and a perpetrator at the same time. And so, I go back and forth between wanting to give her more grace than I have been and other times not. There are books and movies and documentaries and everything out there if you want to further look into this cult. So I'm going to go to the chat and see what you weren't saying a whole lot. You're kind of quiet. Let's see if I can come up here to where here we go. Mark Harmon says, aloha, everyone. It's been too long. Yeah, we have missed you. I've wondered where you were at. I see you every once in a while in Maryland's if I get a chance to get over there, but yeah. 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 Oh, you looked at him up. You looked him up. Yeah. Doesn't he just feel evil when you look at him? He's not, in some of his earlier pictures, he was, I guess, not ugly. That's not what I mean. I don't mean that he's disgusting looking. He just, to me, looks evil. It just feels nasty. Yeah. You're gonna cuddle your kitten a little bit to recover? Thank you. I'm gonna take a shower or a bath and eat my soup and maybe cuddle with my husband and be glad that am his one and only wife. Yeah, yeah. It will definitely help. Puppies and kittens, yeah. Aw, Eileen says, I found her bitten by a dog at the station, emaciated and sad, took her home, and now she's recovering and purring. Aw, that's so sweet. Yeah, she does have a big heart. Yeah, that's a happy story. Thank you. We need it. You get the trophy. You get the trophy today. Yeah. Yeah, those of you that don't know, that was one thing I did steal from the lie boat. Hey, Clearwater Chad, good to see you. Eileen says, I haven't met a button with a warning sign I haven't wanted to press. Me too. Ugh, yeah. Oh, wow. Goes for 129.99 on Amazon. I think that's because there's some renewed interest in it. I don't think she's selling them. I think that that's like, they're trying to make a buck on it before it gets where it's not, because they were cheap before. So thanks, He says, I think you're rocking it, Susie. I hope. I was just like, oh my God. Yeah. What has to happen to a person's mind to make them think that this evil is okay? I agree. What is it with these names being near to accurate? Ervil sounds like evil. Yeah. Same like Brigham Young sounds like Brigham Young. Yeah, it is so odd. I had never thought of that one with Brigham Young. I had never thought of that one. Brigham Young. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So you heard evil? Hey Eric, good to see you. Hey, Eric's going to be on the live next week. So, yeah. This week we have Dylan Gill and next week we have Eric Rader. So, Colty. Yeah. Hey, Conda, good to see you. I was talking about you earlier. I don't know. I wonder if any of them are related to the Blackmore family from Bountiful, British Columbia. I don't know. Yeah, glad to see you made it, Conda. Chrysler LeBaron, Ervil Rottenbacher, Rottenbacher. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I get it. Thanks. Seriously. Trying to think of some jokes to lighten the mood. I think that, yeah, I like turtles. He just throws that in. I like turtles. Yeah. I know. I think I was like trying to read it so fast that I could not get his name pronounced right. Ugh. Yeah. Just, I'm not kidding. I'm going to be glad to have this one done. I was supposed to meow my lawn yesterday, but I still haven't done it. Whoopsies. Ugh. Yeah, you shouldn't. That is right. You listen to Mayor. You should not do it when it's hot. I know you have to eventually. Yeah, Mischief's not here to put you in timeout. uh, it'll still be there tomorrow. That's right. I started to say that, and then I thought, well, there he just said it. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree, Eileen. He was born with the propensity to kill, though. You can't water a seed that isn't there. I know. It is. It's just terrible. Yeah, it's a scary Tuesday. Oh, I know. What gives them the right to just end people? Don't any of them have a soul? I know. I just was completely just, ugh. Yeah, that is what I would call evil. They named him correct. Ervil. Ervil the Evil. Yeah. Yeah. He says he's going to step away. Yeah. That's hard. I understand. It's hard to listen to. Take care of yourself. Absolutely. So, how do these cult leaders explain away the 10 Commandments, the ones about not killing, not coveting, not stealing, honoring your mother and father? Yeah, that's some mental gymnastics. I agree. I think that the way that they do it, which I don't know if they actually believe that they're actually God, and so the rules don't apply to them, or if that's how they justify it to their members, is that I am God and they don't apply to me. That's the rules that I set forth for you, one of those that's, for ye, not for thee, or whatever. Yeah, where do they live? Yeah, or in Texas, in Mexico. But they are hid back. Well, they say, Lord, it is on this like back road. It's way off in this really rural area, but they have like this big, like concrete or whatever entryway that's like LeBaron on it. It is crazy. Yeah. Eileen says if she only wrote about the murder and made money, I would think that she needs to give the money away. But if the murder was a small part of her writings about her overall trauma, it becomes complicated. I agree. I do. Absolutely. This goes into a Jenna Miscavige video. Who has more power, the narcissist leader or the followers that give the leader the power? Considering the leader had a kill list, I think that it was the leader in this case. I agree, Jan. I think in this case, for sure, because basically it was follow me or your name's going on that list. And they knew that it would happen. I think it's both ways. Terry Pratchett humorously writes about it in Small Gods, where gods for various things only have power when people believe in them. Yeah, yeah, I remember hearing about that. Yeah. In this case, whether they believed or not, they went along with it because they knew that their lives were on the line. Absolutely. Isn't it just, I don't know, this one, we have, not that the other, it doesn't take away from the horror of the other cults. All of them are horrific. But I really, another thing that I did look into for starting next week, because this one just like was so deep and there's been so much, I actually started searching. I asked Chat GPT and then went and, I got a list of names of cults that were just like goofy kind of things, just far out there and stuff that, and so I'm going to cover some of those just to still be covering cults, but I need to step away from the evil that it was for a while, and I think you all do too. I think we all just need a little bit of a break. Ugh. Yeah, I believe that some followers go into it knowingly. They want to feel the power of the group for the same reason people join gangs. Some go in premeditated with the goal to climb up and gain power. I agree. I think some do. Absolutely. I mean, that would be very, yeah, it would be true for people marrying into the family too. Absolutely. I mean, more people who got into cults in general, some definitely knew that they were what they were getting into, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. I'm sure some do. But so many times you hear that people are in over their heads and they can't get out because they're too deep. Absolutely. Absolutely, Jan. But like you said, in the case of other cults, the followers are giving the leader his power. Absolutely. This one, oh, I don't know. Yeah, speaking generally, I don't think all followers of other cults went in. Yeah, I know what you mean, sweetie. Absolutely. Well, guys, I don't know about the rest of you, but I am going to do a little happy dance that one is over. Ah, I have spent so many days and hours studying this that it's just I'm going to just shake it off tonight, and we're going to have some happy ones for a while. We're going to look into some happier stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and go. Thank you all for being here and for hanging in. Most of you stayed the whole time, which is great. If you couldn't, I understand. I was right with you wanting to leave at times. So, and like I said, I didn't even tell it all. There's just, sometimes it's just too much, it becomes redundant almost. I mean, and I hate to say it like that, but it does. It just, at some point, enough is enough, right? Well, anyway, I'm going to go. I will be back tomorrow, and I will promise that it's going to be something a lot more fun.
Hope you enjoyed the show, so glad you were here. We meet here most days, we're but first coffee and you're welcome here. We talk about hard subjects, but we also laugh a lot. If you have a loss or win, we will cheer for you. We're but first coffee and you are safe here. So hit those like and subscribe buttons, notifications set to all. You don't want to miss a show, because this is your home to y'all. So hit those like and subscribe buttons, notifications set to all. You don't want to miss a show, because this is your home to y'all. So hit those like and subscribe buttons, notifications set to all.